call from Wales. Am I live to Tiger Bay or Cardiff Bay?
Yes, Tiger Bay, you're certainly live to Tiger Bay. Good evening, everybody.
Loud and clear from Cardiff, boy. Nearly deaf in everybody. How are you doing, Hillary?
Yes, it's been a long day today. I've been in the Home Office since very early this morning with 5 of my clients that I took in who descended upon Cardiff from the 4 corners of the UK.
How are you finding the whole Windrush saga down there? Because I know you've been in the press recently talking about clients in Wales.
Well, the fight in Wales is exactly the same as the fight all around the United Kingdom. It's difficult, it's onerous, we should not be in this position, and we find that the people that we are supporting are people aged, 70 and over. Let me just draw your attention to one of the cases that's made national press this week. A gentleman, 80 odd, who came to the UK in the Windrush era, who has never been given a British passport, who has made a number of applications to regularize his immigration status in the UK, all of which were refused, whose son was then born in the United Kingdom, who went on to become a world boxing champion.
Yeah. Wow, what's his name? We must know him.
Steve Robinson.
Steve
Lee, you've
Robinson.
met him. We took
That's
him
right.
into the Houses of Parliament some years ago.
With the boys.
Now Steve was a world boxing champion and reluctantly didn't want to, go all around the world where he'd been invited because his dad could never leave the United Kingdom.
Exactly.
For fear of, if he ever left the UK, he'd never be allowed back in.
Why is it, do you think, that we're facing this profound injustice by this government? A lot of people say, well, it's just a byproduct, an unintentional byproduct of this immigration legislation. Nobody really means it. Of course, we want Windrush people to have citizenship. As a practicing lawyer in this field, is that your experience?
No, absolutely not. I think what we need to do is we need to look beyond the Home Office. We have been under a sustained attack, not only from the Home Office. What about the judges, the immigration judges that upheld the decisions of the Home Office and refused people when they appeared before the various immigration tribunals? What about the High Court judges who refused applications for injunctions to prevent people's removal from the United Kingdom? Where is the Ministry of Justice standing in this? Why aren't we making them accountable for what they've done? What training have the judges been given? And how is it that all of a sudden they all seem to be suffering with amnesia and can't remember this legislation that entitled people of the Commonwealth to automatic entitlement to British citizenship?
Well, I just think that's incredible. We send our love to the people of Cardiff, do we not? And we hope that you are standing strong in Cardiff. And make sure you stay linked with us nationally.
Absolutely.
And we will be doing this again. So we'll be calling on you frequently, Hillary, to give us updates from Cardiff. But give
absolutely
Hillary Brown another warm round of applause. And Hillary, just before you go,
yes,
I think I missed it. When people want advice in Wales, was Wales on my list? I'm sure I put it on the list there, but I can't remember.
Well, I can't see it. So
well, let's just repeat it again. It's
01446.
01446. If we can note this down and put it on the list. 01446.
749. 330.
330. So that's for people in Wales. Ring that number. We'll put it on our list and make sure people get that, Hillary. But thank you very much for joining us from Wales, Hillary Brown.
I had a brief look at this story earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to learn that...
the boxing story.
Yeah, his father came here, I think it was 1955.
Yeah.
So roughly around the same time as Miss Richards.
Yeah.
He would have the right of abode in the United Kingdom. But because there was some element of discrimination in there is why we're having this problem
Right,
today.
yes.
And I think the High Court, the Supreme Court, spoke about this sort of discrimination.
That's right.
With regards to citizenship.
Yep.
And it seems as though the Home Office is not paying attention to what the Supreme Court is saying, to what else is going on with regards to all this discrimination based on legitimacy and illegitimacy, or periods when certain citizens had lesser rights than others. We cannot continue to perpetuate that kind of thing in this day and age.
We agree, and I'm going to ask Peter to speak about class actions and yourselves a little later, because I do know that we are preparing or seeking to prepare a class action. I also know that others, lawyers' firms, are also doing similarly. So the point there is to make sure on the issue of compensation and restitution of citizenship that we don't rely on promises from politicians. Lord knows I saw Sajid Javid, Home Secretary, promised the people of Grenfell, while the smoke was still clearing from the tower, that they would have no problem in getting property, that they would have no problem in getting compensation, that everybody would be rehoused very quickly. And a year later, he's moved on, but those people are still in bed and breakfast and hotels. So as far as I'm concerned, a promise is a comfort to a aye. So what we must do is make sure that we hold people foot to the fire. Right. And the way that we do that is by using our legal experts to facilitate class action. And we're going to come to that. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Kenneth Stevenson.
Kenneth Stevenson. And
Yes.
you must be related to my wife.
Yes, sir. We come from the same place, same parish, yeah?
Junction.
Junction,
Top
St.
Hill.
Elizabeth, Top Hill, Bull Savannah.
Bull Savannah.
Bull Savannah all around, sir, yeah?
Okay.
Let me give you my story now.
Yeah.
I was 14 and a half
Yeah.
when I was in Jamaica, yeah? 14 and a half, and they put on, I would say, 7.5 years per my age to bring me come here. That is 1959, yeah?
Yeah.
My brother that I follow in birth, him come in my older brother name.
Yeah.
That mean he wasn't eligible to come here.
Right.
My younger brother that follow me, that's
Yeah.
three of us in a row, me and him coming at the same year.
Okay.
And I only 14 and a half, so what age was he?
Younger than you.
Younger than me. Right. When me come here, them cast me as 22.
So when you came here, you was 14, but they said he was 22.
22. Them come to Jamaica, change my name, my birth certificate, my passport, everything, and carry me come here. My first job was on the demolition.
Yes.
You imagine 14 and a half coming from a hot country
I'm working on demolition in the
and
coal.
working at demolition in the coal.
Oh, gosh.
No get that.
Ah.
Yeah? Me no get no education because me are 14 and a half and they never send me to no school here. Me
So
no
you-
get none at all.
So
yeah?
immigration messed up your education.
My life, my whole life. I can't do nothing, man, without education.
Ah.
In a country like this where you need education,
Ah.
well, I never get none.
Right.
The only bit that I learned to do, sign my name, is going to night school for about a year and a half.
Right.
That time he was married and at work. You see them two estate up here?
Yeah.
One over on your right there, and which part then killed Stephen.
Yeah.
Me spend over 30 years at the two of them.
Yeah.
I work on building site.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
I do.
So a 50 year what I work me doing at this country.
Give the man
You
a
get-
round of applause.
you
50
get what
years
I
of
mean?
work.
Thank you. Plenty more to say, but
next
time is
time.
short.
Time
All
is
right,
short.
all right. Thank you, sir.
I've noticed through all this sort of dialogue about the Windrush chaos that this government's caused, they seem to be reinforcing the narrative as illegal. all
Why
the
do they
time.
do that?
What? That's why they bring it up.
Aye.
Aye. They seem to be reinforcing the narrative of illegal immigrants when they talk about the Windrush, and they don't seem to differentiate the situation and just stick to the fact that they've messed up and con people in paying over and over and over again for
Because-
their citizenship.
Because not only were they paying the government,
Yeah.
but they're also paying lawyers to prepare their case before they
Exactly.
even get to go. So you could spend a good £5,000 on trying to sort out something which you have a perfect entitlement right to.
So really what they've done is continually kept African and Caribbean people that are born here, that have been invited here, in a state of limbo,
That's right.
in a state of fear.
We can get rid of you anytime.
Yes,
Yeah,
but still we have to pay for the privilege of being afraid.
absolutely.
So my point here, you sort of touched on the fact that you might be bringing up the issue of a class action.
Yes.
But really, it needs to happen in a way that they get the message that we vex, that we upset. And the class action needs to be in a way, like maybe, I don't like examples with America, but where they feel it, because they only seem to feel it when it's in their pocket.
That's right.
They don't feel it when we talk. They don't feel it when we march.
They have no compassionate
They-
response.
They feel
Yeah.
that we are void, but they're just mirroring them. They're projecting who they are
Yeah.
in terms of their behavior towards us.
I hear you, sister. I hear you. I think she's right. Give her a round of applause. They made a good point. Give it to Sean at the back. And then I'm going to take, if it doesn't happen this time, I'm going to go to Peter to give us a view on the class action. Go ahead. Stand up, son.
I think, you know, I'm 23 years old, and I've grown up in Britain for my whole life, and my brother Brandon and I, we have a lot of controversial conversations, and it's always the conversation, we're not British, and I think we like to pander ourselves on this romantic thought that we're British.
So hold on a minute. You're 23.
I'm 23.
You're born here.
Yeah.
And you don't feel British.
I think it's not that I don't feel British. I don't align with such a false ideology. I think that's the best way for me to put it. And I think
So are you rejecting Britain or is Britain rejecting you?
it's both. As
Right,
you said,
okay.
it's pigmentation. Meritocracy doesn't exist. Democracy doesn't exist.
I hear you.
And I think talking about how it's until people feel it in their pockets. Capitalism, that's how capitalism works. It's been off the backs of black labor. So I'm writing a whole essay on representation. It's, for example, Black Panther only came into the movies because there was demand for it. When there's money to be made of something, that's a reason how it's going to happen. And I think-
Commodification.
yeah, the commodification of cultures. For a long time, because we were labor, you know, our labor was commodified and so on. Now they're done with us. And I think, for me, I think there's also an issue that when we use America as a comparison, we get saturated with their ideologies. And I think in Britain, we're struggling with our own ideologies. And I think in terms of the Windrush, I've been watching a lot of debates, and the real question is, also I'm reading a book, Britain's Black Debt,
Yeah.
by Hilary Beckles.
A book that we should recommend.
Yeah.
Everybody should read.
I'm reading that, and it talks about, for example, aid to the Caribbean and aid to Africa is not aid, it's actually reparations dressed up in another way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to go back to the Caribbean and, you know, rebuild an infrastructure. And I think, so I'm from Trinidad, and obviously in Trinidad, a lot of drugs and crime, it goes through the whole loop.
Yeah.
And also there was the brother, I don't know where he's gone, but he was talking about white liberals. They're both the same bird. There's a left wing and a right wing. The parliament and the system wasn't meant to work for us, and I think I'm not someone who disagrees with people in it, but we can't be surprised by everything that does come. And I think the real question is, what are we willing to do to remove ourselves from the situation, or will we continue to sit in the system that is about damage limitation? And I think that's all I have to say.
Give that young man a round of applause. Have you got somebody on the line for me? All right, who is it? Hi, this is Lee Jasper from the Windrush Town Hall meeting in London. Who's calling?
Okay, well, my name is Mauricia.
Mauricia.
And,
yeah.
Yes, I was born in Nevis.
Nevis.
Yes, Nevis. And my parents, one born in Nevis, one born in St. Kitts. My grandparents are from Montserrat, one from Anguilla.
Uh-huh.
So I'm well mixed. But I called in because, you know, before all this became to light, 2 years ago, I started my application for my citizenship.
Okay.
And on the same thing, like the young man there from St. Kitts, you know, Persons for Us before 1983 was our year.
Uh-huh.
And I applied. Now, with a little bit of my background, I came to England 20 years ago. And I went to University of Wolverhampton and did my bachelor's in law. And I had to do everything as a foreign student.
Wow.
And I go to my parents, go to my grandparents. My grandparents are from Leeds. You know, they moved over, lived in Leeds from the Windrush era. And I said to them, why is it I can't get my papers? And I had this question 20 years ago. And finally, 2 years ago, it was in my spirit, and I decided to try again. And when I did the application, they denied me. And they told me I had to prove my grandparents' citizenship. They did not care for the men. They only cared of the women. Now, my grandmother, paternal grandmother from Montserrat, she was born back in 1924.
Wow.
And yes, she born as a Montserratian, and of course you expect that she has her British citizenship.
Correct.
Now, when I did the application, even though I gave them everything, when I say everything, including my current kid's birth certificate, husband, everything they asked for. Marriage certificate of all my parents, my grandparents, they asked for everything under the sun, and they only need originals. I gave it to them.
They only need originals.
During the application process, my grandmother died. And upon her death, 2 weeks after, they wrote to me and told me, I need an affidavit from my grandmother attesting that she is my grandmother and she acknowledges me as her grandchild. No, the law didn't mention any of that.
Absolutely.
They also asked me to prove by sending photographs of my entire life with these people in my life. Then they asked me further to prove outside of my passport, outside of my birth certificate, they wanted documents from my birth from the hospital where I was born.
Right.
Oh, boy.
They said, when you send this hospital record, it has to be recorded within the first 12 months of your birth. So if I was born in 1977, I had to go back to the hospital in Nevis and say, hey, do you guys have records of birth in 1977? They say no. That was destroyed in hurricane ages ago.
Destroyed in the hurricane.
Then they said to me, so then I had to, and I'm telling persons, when you're filling this out, affidavits work and they go well. Having statements notarized by persons to help you can go far.
Okay.
Because in the absence of records to show, those came in handy. So, for example, because I was told anybody born in Nevis before 2000 somewhat, all those records were destroyed. So then what I had to do was get a letter from the chief of the hospital administration stating such that they do not have the record. So they're asking me for the impossible. And then at that point, I had to go through the different governments to get from the clinics a clinic card for your vaccination to show that, yes, I was getting vaccine back in 1977.
And Marisha, where are you now? Have they finally granted you any passport, or have you resolved the matter?
I didn't hear the question.
I was asking, where are you now in this saga? Are you now? Did they grant you permission?
My application, I have been successful.
Okay.
I do have my British passport,
Okay.
but I live in America. I also have an American passport. But, so I guess I have dual citizenship there.
But
But
you-
to the British government, I gave them my CARICOM passport and tell them I'll give that one up. When it expires, it's dead.
Well,
But what I'm saying is, even though we have the act,
yes.
they're just making up the rules as they go along.
Ah,
so I'm
right.
just trying to show to the gentleman in the front that they're
Yes.
asking for other stuff. More importantly, to prove your paternal,
Yeah.
you need to have someone in your grandparents' bloodline
Yeah.
who is from still an original colony, because they're claiming that if the country, like for example, Montserrat, or let's say you went across to Australia, wherever, if they were still in these colonial countries, then they'll consider it.
Yeah,
But because my grandmother passed, another thing came up. They said, well, on her birth certificate, she had one last name, and then on a marriage certificate, she had another last name. They said I had to find somebody who knew or is a relative to my grandmother whose date of birth did not surpass hers,
wow.
and to have them sign an affidavit in the UK, notarize it to say that they know of her,
How much did all
which
of
was
this
the
cost
last
you?
thing they asked me for, which was hard because where would you find somebody right now from 1920, 1922,
Yeah. Absolutely.
24?
Well, I think we all know that,
And
that they set the bar so high in the hope that you never ever reach it.
Yeah.
And I think this is the point that I want to get home to the people at home about why they need legal advice. Because these people are playing games with people's lives.
All the time.
And they're raising and lowering the administrative bar depending on the color of your skin. And the darker the high
Correct.
you are, the higher the bar goes. And the lighter your skin, the lower the evidence you have to provide.
Right.
Marisha, the important question before we leave you, and unfortunately we're coming to an end, so we do have to leave you. But how much did you spend in order to rectify all of these issues?
Well, I got the affidavits. I went beyond. I went to Montserrat, contact the church where she was baptized
Wow.
to get baptismal certificate. I spent hundreds of dollars between FedEx and everybody to coordinate and get them all that they asked for. And in the end, I apparently found through lineage that I have a sister to my grandmother who is still alive, who is almost 100 years old, in central, down in Hounslow, down in London. And my brother was able to go to her and get her to sign this paper to say she is the sister of my grandmother, and was able to give me the final leg.
You're
But I'm
lucky.
trying to show you the intricate measure of which they try to find the impossible for you. So if you don't know your heritage, if you don't know your lineage, it'll be very hard for you to
You're finished,
collect these kind of
basically.
documents to bring to the forefront. And I mean, I was just blessed because, you know, they have all been active in my life. So yes, I had photographs of my grandparents at my wedding, at my graduation,
Well,
my
lucky
60th
for you.
birthday party. And those were the things they asked for. So I'm just saying, be vigilant to expect things of this nature and how you can go around it. But getting affidavits for persons to state the fact will also help.
Well, thank you very much. Give Marisha a round of applause. Ringing in from Florida, I believe, in America.
Wow.
Finally, after the trials of Hercules, she manages to get her matter sorted out. But some people in the community haven't got those resources.
I think it's quite ridiculous what she had to go through. I mean, you would see cases where the parent or perhaps the grandparent died, and you can still claim citizenship. You can still gain your citizenship based on that.
There you
so
go.
to prove all of these things, pictures and all this
Unnecessary.
nonsense, it's ridiculous.
It's the black bar of exclusion. This is what I'm trying to get
It
over
is,
you.
it is.
The government is not responding to us by applying the legislation. It looks at the legislation, then it looks at you
Right.
and decides what level
Right.
of legislative
Well-
or administrative threshold that you should reach.
We've heard jokes in the past, going back 15 years. The Home Office, people at the Home Office would open your passport, and if they don't like the way you look or they don't like your skin color, they just close it back and deny you.
That's right.
I mean, those were just jokes, but now,
it's,
on the surface, it just appears that
but there's
way.
no surface. In reality,
Yes.
we're wearing our passport on our faces.
Right. Did any one of you know that St. Kitts was the first British colony in the West Indies? It's known as the mother colony. It was the first colony, and it was actually the last to become independent in that region. We've contributed so much to this nation, and to hear what that woman had to go through just to get her citizenship, which is hers to begin. Yes, by right. My grandfather told me when he came here to work, in the cold weather, when the mucus would run from his nose, it would freeze before he hit the ground. He came here to rebuild homes that were destroyed during the Blitz. All these buildings were destroyed. They came to us, and we came to answer the call, and this is how we're being treated.
What I've heard tonight disturbs me, perhaps not in the way that people expect, but it disturbs me that somehow we are still shocked.
Absolutely.
We are still shocked. And what I've noticed over the last 3 weeks with the Windrush thing is that we still think they want us here. And so there's a group of us who see this all as a big mistake. There's a group of us who see this as a Theresa May thing. There's a group of us who see this as a one set of people thing. The reality of the matter is, since this Windrush thing has blown up, I have not heard a single New Zealander, Australian, or Canadian, or white South African.
Well, Paul,
murmur
come on. You know this is
about
the
this.
fairest country in the world, according
It
to
is, of course, the fairest country.
according to
and
the
we're
propaganda.
going to keep it that way. We're going to keep it the fairest.
All right.
Fairest. Color. Fairest. Yeah?
Is it a meritocracy or is it a pigmentocracy?
The bottom line is this. We have, from day one, served our purpose.
Yes.
And once that purpose was fulfilled, they took action to exclude us.
Just people at the back, say that again.
The rest of what I'm going to say is this. The young people, it's incumbent upon our young people, I'm talking about in the ages of 25 upwards, to understand where you lie in this country.
Yeah, that's right.
To understand it explicitly where you lie.
Yeah.
They can take it back at an instant.
Anytime.
One of the speakers earlier warned of Brexit.
That's right.
And it is a mistake and it is naive for us to sit down and think Brexit was about the Europeans. Brexit is a xenophobic move, and xenophobia looks for difference.
Absolutely.
So we need to understand that what they tried to do, and in many cases did successfully, to the Windrush generation, they are lining up to do it again.
Yep.
Yep. Let us not fool ourselves
I
into
hear
thinking that it was our grandparents' mistake.
That's right.
That granny didn't fill in a form.
Yep.
Because if they wanted taxes, they would have found them.
Yeah. That's right.
So let's stop blaming our people for what happened.
That's right.
If they wanted tax from them, they would have found them, and they would have found the right form. They would have got advisors. They would have paid advisors to make sure they pay the tax.
So what you're saying is the situation we find ourselves in is a calculated outcome of conscious decisions made by previous governments to put us in this position.
Totally by design.
Yeah.
You can trace it right back to Enoch Powell's speech.
Yep.
And the action that they then took.
Yes,
you
right.
can trace it back to David Cameron's reaction to the leakage to UKIP and the actions that he took.
Yep.
Yep. My first demonstration I attended in this country, I can't remember the year. I came here in 1989. My first demonstration was a demonstration where we were demonstrating against them changing the policy of where you were born.
That's right.
And so I don't remember what year it was.
Yeah, 90s.
Yeah. Whatever it was.
It was the anti-black family bill.
And
think they
I
brought
was
in-
on that demonstration
Right.
surrounded by white people.
That's right.
We better start defend ourselves.
That's right.
Because guess what?
Aye.
The few little white liberals don't make enough.
That's right.
And we have to stop this. We have to stop it now. Or I'll be in Jamaica, me and Lee down
That's right.
junction,
Oh,
run up on
yeah.
the skelly and everything.
With Mr. Stevenson.
Yeah. while Una up here, run up
Catch
and down.
licks.
Yep.
Take-
My last word is this.
Tech blows.
If you have access
Yeah.
to a nationality, to citizenship from another country, get it.
Take it.
Get it quickly. You might never know when you might need it.
Well, Southern Ireland is a very easy place to get your passports if you want to remain in the European Union. Give Paul a round of applause. I thought that was a good contribution.